All right, get ready to dive deep with us today because we're tackling some pretty wild neuroscience,
Oh, yeah.
split brain research. It really makes you wonder, like, are we one person? Or is there a whole party going on inside our skulls?
That is a great question, and today we're going to explore it using excerpts from this fascinating talk.
Yeah, we're going to see what happens when the two halves of the brain are surgically separated.
Mm.
And let me tell you, it gets pretty weird.
It does. Oh, well, what's really amazing to me is that this whole field kind of came about from trying to deal with severe epilepsy.
Mhm.
Like in some of these cases, they actually sever the corpus callosum.
Wow.
That's the connection, the bridge between the two hemispheres of the brain,
Okay.
and it can help reduce seizures.
So wait, wouldn't you think, I mean, wouldn't someone like lose part of who they are after a surgery like that?
You'd think so, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's what everybody thought at first.
Yeah.
But the really surprising thing is that patients generally function pretty normally. Like after the surgery, they can still talk, they go about their lives. You wouldn't necessarily know that anything was different.
So everything seems cool on the surface.
Mhm.
But under the hood, what's going on?
Right.
Is it just like this big mind meld? Or are there actually two separate consciousnesses in there?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's where things get super interesting. It turns out that the two sides of our brains have different specialties. Like the left side, it's often called the verbal brain.
Okay.
It handles things like language, logic, analytical thinking, all the stuff we usually think of as being conscious.
Yeah, yeah.
But the right hemisphere, that one's more about visual and spatial stuff, emotions, intuition.
Mhm.
Doesn't have the same capacity for language that the left side does.
So it's like having like Spock and Kirk sharing a head.
Huh.
Like one's all logic and the other's just going with gut feeling all the time.
You know what? That's actually a pretty good analogy, and it's that difference in specialties that makes the split brain experiments so mind-blowing. Researchers came up with these really ingenious ways to basically test each hemisphere in isolation
Hmm.
by showing information to only one eye at a time.
Oh, wow. So they figured out how to play like mental ping pong with the two halves of the brain.
You got it, and the results were pretty groundbreaking.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat, so walk me through it.
Okay, so picture this classic experiment, the pan and saw experiment. A patient sees the word pan, but it's flashed to their right eye only.
Okay.
So that goes to the left, verbal brain.
Okay.
And they have no problem saying pan.
Makes sense.
But then they flash the word saw to the left eye, which goes right to the right brain.
And that's when things get freaky, right? What happens then?
Well, get this. The patient swears up and down that they didn't see anything. They can't say the word saw because the left brain, the language center, has no clue what just happened.
But here's the thing. They're not lying.
Exactly. They're not making it up. And to prove it, when they're asked to draw what they saw, their left hand, the one controlled by the right brain, it sketches a saw.
No way.
It's wild. It shows us that the two halves can work totally independently even when their perceptions clash.
Wow. So we've got one side talking, the other one drawing, and the patient is stuck in the middle of this internal drama, completely unaware. That's like next level cognitive dissonance.
It really is. It highlights how much of our mental processes happen without us even realizing it. We tend to think we're this unified being with one clear consciousness, but these experiments really shake up that idea.
Yeah, they really do. Makes you wonder what else is going on in there that we're completely oblivious to.
Exactly.
So, okay, we've got these two hemispheres, each doing their own thing, but how does this actually play out in, like, everyday life?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. You've probably heard of alien hand syndrome.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It kind of is. Just imagine your hand acting like it has its own agenda, like unbuttoning your shirt when you don't want it to, or grabbing things you don't want, even fighting with your other hand.
Hold on, really? Like an actual hand-to-hand combat situation, but with your own body?
It can get pretty wild, and it's believed to be related to this disconnect between the hemispheres we've been talking about. Remember how the right brain doesn't have that easy access to language?
Yeah.
So it might be expressing itself through actions instead of words. And those actions can feel totally involuntary to the person experiencing them.
Oh, wow. So it's not just that the hands are doing different things. It's like they're driven by different motivations almost.
Exactly. It's like getting a glimpse into this potential for conflict and cooperation within our own minds. It's kind of fascinating, actually.
For sure. It's definitely given me some new things to think about. The source material actually had some pretty crazy examples too, right?
Yeah, there were a few that stood out. Like, one patient described their hand constantly trying to undo their buttons as they were getting dressed.
Oh, no.
And another person's hand would take things out of their grocery cart while they were shopping, much to their surprise, and probably the cashier's too.
That's hilarious. I get annoyed when my hand accidentally swipes left on a dating profile, but this is a whole other level. Okay, so does this mean our brains are just this chaotic mess of competing impulses? Are we all one bad day away from having our left hand stage a coup?
Huh. It's not quite that dramatic. But these cases do raise some really profound questions about, consciousness and free will. If our hand can act against what we consciously want, who's really in control?
It's a good question. It makes you wonder, like, who am I even?
Yeah.
Just a collection of rebellious body parts doing their own thing.
Maybe it's more helpful to think of it as a complex system with lots of different parts working together, sometimes smoothly, sometimes not so much.
Okay, I can see that.
And this brings us to an even more mind-blowing question. What if there are multiple consciousnesses existing in a single brain?
Whoa, multiple consciousnesses.
Yeah.
So you're saying there might be several versions of ourselves all hanging out in our heads?
It's a wild idea, right? And there are researchers who believe that split brain phenomena and alien hand syndrome could be extreme examples of this, like this internal multiplicity that we all experience to some degree.
Wait, so you're saying we might all be harboring a secret society of selves? Like an internal parliament with different factions always arguing and trying to take charge?
Think about it. Have you ever had one of those moments where you can't remember what you did the day before? Or like a sudden wave of sadness or anger that seems to come out of nowhere?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
What if those are glimpses of other personalities at work within our minds, each with their own memories and emotions and motivations?
Okay, that's both fascinating and a little scary. I'm starting to feel like my own brain is a stranger. But if we are this collection of selves, how do we even function? Is it just complete anarchy up there?
Not necessarily. Some researchers think we might have more control over this inner landscape than we realize. Yeah, by understanding and nurturing the different parts of ourselves, like the impulsive part, the cautious part, the creative part, we can learn to get those voices in harmony and, navigate life more effectively.
So it's like we're the captain of a ship,
Yeah,
and all these different personalities are our crew.
I like that.
We need to learn how to motivate them, put them in roles where they can thrive, and hopefully avoid any mutinies along the way.
Exactly. It's a great metaphor. And it really emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and self-acceptance. The more we understand that crew inside us, the better we can steer the ship.
Right, right.
But then that raises another question. If we can choose which personality to express, are we really being ourselves? Or are we just playing a role?
Whoa, okay, that's a deep one. Okay, so like if we're all these complex beings with all these hidden parts and inner struggles, how do we even begin to figure out who we really are? It's like, I don't know, looking in a mirror and not recognizing the person staring back.
It's a question that's been pondered for centuries, and honestly, there are no easy answers. But maybe that's part of the beauty of it all. This deep dive has taken us from like brain surgery to alien hands to this idea of multiple consciousnesses within us. I mean, it's enough to make anyone question everything they thought they knew about themselves.
Right. It's like finding out your tiny apartment actually has this whole secret wing that you never knew existed. And it's full of, well, just different versions of you.
Exactly. And maybe that's not a bad thing. I mean, think about the potential. What if we could tap into all of those selves? What could we achieve? It'd be like having like a whole team of experts, each with their own unique skills.
Okay, so now you're making it sound like we're all secret superheroes, just waiting to unlock our superpowers.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we tap into this incredible potential?
Well, maybe it starts with simply acknowledging that these different parts of ourselves exist. Instead of, fighting against them, maybe we can try working with them.
So it's not about becoming one perfectly unified being, but more like learning to be the conductor of our own mental orchestra.
I love that. Each instrument has its own unique sound, and it's the way those sounds come together that creates the symphony of our lives.
That's beautiful. So instead of like judging those negative thoughts or those impulses we have, what if we tried to see them as parts of us that are, just trying to help in their own way? Like maybe our inner critic is just trying to keep us safe, even if they can be a bit much sometimes.
Absolutely. Even the parts of ourselves that we don't always love, they're still part of our team,
Yeah.
They might be a little clumsy or misguided, but they're still trying to help.
So it's about figuring out how to like use their energy and redirect it into something positive.
Exactly.
Instead of shutting those voices down, maybe we can learn to actually listen to them, to understand where they're coming from, and then we can work with them, not against them.
It's about finding that balance, that sweet spot between being whole and letting those different parts of ourselves have their own voice. Recognizing that we're connected, but also honoring the things that make each of us unique.
This has been a wild conversation. I feel like my brain has been doing gymnastics this whole time. But it's also really freeing,
Yeah.
to think we're not just stuck with the personality we were born with, that we have the power to change, to decide which parts of ourselves to grow. That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is. And it's a journey that never really ends. Every new insight, every new perspective, it just gives us a deeper understanding of ourselves and how incredible the human mind really is.
So to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, embrace all the complexity that makes you, well, you. Who knows what amazing things you'll find inside. Until next time, happy diving.